So if this buyout goes through, it's going to mean some major changes for AOL, which is the nation's fourth largest online property with about 200 million monthly customers. But will it happen? Joining me now, President of Wilsey Asset Management, Brent Wilsey. Brent, there's a process involved here when a company like Verizon wants to purchase another company the size of AOL. And, of course, it involves the FCC. They're going to weigh in on this. But there's another portion to this process.
Yeah, Graham, and this may not happen because it may not get approved, and we'll see if it gets approved or not, but it's not a done deal yet.
And it involves the board, right? Board of directors and shareholders, correct?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it has to be approved by everybody. And again, that's still not been done yet. So we have to kind of wait to see. I mean, this is announced. So now wait to see if it actually happens or not.
And, of course, it could translate into jobs and jobs changing and possible job losses. And this week, some positive readings on unemployment applications?
Yeah, we always look at the jobless claims. I try to do that every time I'm here because it's really a future indicator. And jobless claims came in 264,000. The estimate was 276,000. And last week was 265, so they keep getting better. And this is a good signal that there's some healthy conditions in the current job market right now.
Okay, so fewer people are applying for unemployment benefits. But we also know that there is this huge number of Americans who are not in the system who are looking for jobs. They're either underemployed or unemployed, but they're just not on the federal government radar. So we always have to throw that caveat in there. Meantime, retail sales. These people may be getting jobs, but they're not necessarily spending the money they're making right now?
That's true, Graham. And what's kind of funny when you look deep in these numbers, they came in flat, so no increase in retail sales. They expected they were going to be up like 0.2%. But if you back out auto sales and gas sales, they actually were up 0.2%. What's happening, Graham, is we've had this big resurgence of buying cars. I think right now our average car sales are on 17 million a year. That's the highest as I believe it's ever been. But now we've got a lot of cars, so we're not buying cars anymore. So now that's pulling that down. But this number, looking at just on the surface, is the worst number since the fall of 2009 because of the fact that, again, people have stopped buying cars at that extraordinary rate they were doing before. So, but even department stores, I got to say, we're kind of weak. So it's not a great report, and I'm trying to find out what is going on here because consumers have more money, but the retail sales just did not come in the way expected because of, I think, car sales and also the department sales are kind of slow.
And this is a large driver of our economy, correct?
Oh, definitely. I mean, consumers account for about 68% of the GDP, so a big factor there.
Now, we've reported for the last couple of weeks about this trade deal they're trying to hammer out on Capitol Hill right now in Washington, D.C. And right now, we're looking at a rather large trade deficit for this country?
Yes, we came with a trade deficit of $51 billion, and the estimate was $42 billion. And again, it's a deficit. And March was like $36 billion. So what happened was a couple of things. Our strong dollar is actually hurting our trade deficit because our products are more expensive, therefore foreigners won't buy them. But the other thing I discovered when I read deep into this is, remember the port strike? That had a big effect. I mean, that was a $17 billion backlog they caught up on, so that brought the exports, or the deficit way up. So it is hurting with the deficit, but I think we'll could get back to a more normal number, and I'm going to say good that the dollar is actually going weak again a little bit.
All right. You're on the record. Crude oil prices inching their way back up, not where they were, but they're inching their way back up. Prices at the pump going up. Is that because inventories are being restocked? What's happening with oil inventories?
Well, what's actually happening, Graham, when I look at our couple of oil companies that we own, what I'm reading is that in the domestic oil markets, they've actually shut down a lot of rigs. So that big supply is starting to pull back. We're now seeing on the inventories, last week oil inventories were down 3.9 million barrels. This week down another 2.2 million barrels. So that big supply that people said, oh, it's going to go up, and oil's going to go to $10 a barrel. That's not happening because now our oil companies are so efficient, they can shut down a rig very quickly, and if prices go back up again, they can turn it on very quickly. And I forget the percent of rigs being shut down, but it's a huge percent domestically, and we're now starting to see a decline in that big inventory.
The Bloomberg comes out with the Consumer Comfort Index. What is that? What does it measure, and why do we care?
Well, it's a weekly index that they do to see, and they ask consumers how they feel and so forth. And it came in last week, or in April, it was an 8-year high at 43.7. Now it's about 43.5. So still hanging on the high numbers. There's strength in personal finances, maybe because people aren't spending on the retail side.
Yeah.
They're keeping the money, and they feel the buying climate right now is pretty good. The weakness did come in. They are concerned about the economic outlook, and I think because they saw the first quarter GDP not looking very good, they don't understand why it was so weak.
That they being people in this country, Americans,
yes.
they're kind of in the middle right now. Is that a mid number? Is that a high number? What is that?
No, that's a high number. That 43.5 is a high number, meaning that consumers feel really pretty good about overall the economy. Yeah.
So that's improving. All right, Brent.
Yes.
Thanks.
You're welcome.